10 random magic cards rated day number 82. I, for some reason, thought we were still in the 70s. Excuse me. Happy Saturday, everybody. Hope your weekend's going well. Let's try and make it slightly better with our first card. It's Arena Athlete. Only really ever printed in Theros, also Ultimate Masters. 2 mana, 1 and a red for a 2/1 human with Heroic. Whenever you cast a spell that targets it, a creature an opponent controls cannot block this turn. I actually played this in some aggro decks back when it was first sort of introduced, because a creature not being able to block is actually very sweet sometimes in the first few turns of the game. But ultimately, it hasn't really held up. Stood the test of time. You won't play this in Modern or anything, and I really doubt that you're going to play it, even in Pioneer, for that matter. You're certainly not going to play it in Commander. So I'm just going to give this a 3.9. I still think that it's kind of neat. I have some love for this little guy. But next is Deadfall, only ever printed in Legends, but not part of the reserve list, interestingly. 3 mana, 2 and a green for an enchantment. Creatures with Forest Walk may be blocked as though they did not have this ability. That's it. That's the card. It's pretty bad when you think about it. The absolute best thing about this is the Nene Thomas art, because that is gorgeous. Look at the shape of the trees. Look at the color palette that she chose. The owl looks really cool. I like the sort of old school style fantasy art in the owl. And then the sun in the background, whew, it looks like kind of bleak, but also like a beautiful color palette, especially with the green border around it. The old school green border, baby. Just a beautiful Magic card that is absolute trash. Let's give this a 1. It is not good. Man, 2 1s in the same week. That never happens. Serendib. Let's go way back and look at the green one. This is a product of a misprint, maybe the most famous misprint of all time. You see the green revised border here, but the card is blue, I assure you. It's 2 and a blue for a 3/4 Ifrit with flying that does a damage to you during your upkeep. Now, you may notice that 3 mana for a 3/4 flyer is actually still pretty good by today's standards. It's not terrible, right? I'd pay 3 mana for a 3/4 flyer, but usually it would have to do something else. See a lot of 3/3 flyers with insane upside that still don't see all the standard play in the world. So I'm not saying Serendib would see standard play if it were printed again, and that makes me really sad. This used to be a phenomenal blue card for, you play it on turn 5 with counter spell shields up, with removal spell shields up, and you just kind of ride it for the rest of the game. And yeah, it deals damage to you, but if you were able to Swords to Plowshares that guy, counterspell that guy, Wrath of God on turn 4, Serendib on 5, counterspell backup engaged, you shouldn't really have lost that much life. You should be okay. And sometimes you even go double Serendib. It's dealing a bunch of damage to you, but you're dealing 6 at a time to them. This is a really important card back in the day, and it's kind of sad to see it probably is not great nowadays, but I'm going to give this the honorary 5 of the video, especially considering its casting cost to power toughness rate is still okay to this day, and you really can't say that about a whole lot of creatures from 1993 or 4, so yeah, I do think that this is a phenomenal card. The Arabian Nights one is still almost $500 to get a copy of. Amazing. But the revised edition one is still almost $5 too, and that's because there is some iconography to the misprint. But even if the misprint didn't exist, it would still be a pretty iconic card just for all that it enabled. This is another one that I saw on the kitchen table all the time back in the day. Reckless Waif is up next. This is from Innistrad. It's a single red mana for a 1/1 human rogue werewolf. At the beginning of each upkeep, if no spells were cast last turn, transform Waif, and then it transforms into a 3/2 at the beginning of each upkeep. If a player has cast 2 or more spells last turn, transform Merciless Predator. So this is where we get the day-night cycle, isn't it? You're responsible for day-night. I hate you. It's really, I really think this is the very beginning of day-night, and boo. So I guess you resolve to someone. You go first. You resolve to someone. Your opponent goes tap land or fetch land and does nothing. And then on your turn 2, you have a 3/2. That's good. That's actually okay. But I'm going to give you a lot of points for being the sort of inspiration for the day-night cycle. I have to take some off for that. You're still not great. You're trying to be a delver of secrets. You're like the red, is even printed in Innistrad, but you're not. You're just not. So I'm going to give you a 3.7. I am going to do that. we'll move on to the Fugitive Doctor, originally printed in Doctor Who and only Doctor Who. There's a bunch of versions of this card. 5 mana, 3 a red and a green for a 4/4 legendary Time Lord Doctor. When it ETBs, investigates. 5 mana for a 4/4 investigate. When it attacks, you may sack a clue. When you do, target instant or sorcery card in your graveyard gains flashback 2 a green and a red till end of turn. So flashback any spell in your graveyard, any instant or sorcery for 4 mana. Has to survive a turn and attack, and you have to still have the clue. This is pretty bad, right? It's kind of bad. I guess it's tempting. It's neat. And if it attacks more than once, because you protect it, or it just can, and you have extra clues, then like it gets even better. It's okay, but not great. I usually say that like, you know, unique commander effects will get you a long way in this series, but this one I feel like, even though it's unique, and it does have an ETB trigger, which I do like, is not the best, you know, effect I've ever seen. But I'm still going to give it like a 4.9, you know? Like, I could see building a deck around it. You know, mostly rely on green for your investigate triggers if this is your commander. But, like, you can. There's things, you know? It's neat. It's kind of intriguing, really. Apple of Eden, the Isu relic over here, is 4 mana. This is from the Assassin's Creed set. 4 mana for a legendary artifact. Tap, pay 4 life, and sacrifice the apple. Look at target opponent's hand and exile those cards face down. You may play those cards this turn, and mana of any type can be spent to cast them. Till end of turn, whenever you play a land or cast a spell this way, its owner draws a card. At the beginning of the next end step, return the exiled cards to their owner's hand. Activate only as a sorcery. This is some mana, you know? This is money, really. It's some money. It's like $2 to order a normal copy of it. And quite a bit more to order any other copy. So maybe people are doing something with this in Commander. And I guess it's like baby's first Mindslaver or something like that. Like, you get to play the stuff out of their hand, yay! But like, how good is that actually? I don't know, man. And this like usually has to sit out on the table for a turn before you actually use its ability. But obviously it can be very strong. It can, and you can still play, you know, stuff from your hand while playing stuff from their hand, and like, it's a pretty powerful effect, but it just kind of looks cute to me, you know? I'm still going to give the card a 5.2, mostly because of the unbelievable ceiling, but I think it's kind of worth noting that the floor is also like reasonably low on a card like this, especially for the mana you're putting into it. And like, pay 4 life? Jeez, still unique, very, very unique effect. That could be phenomenal. It really could be very good. But I'll move on to Seasoned Buttoneer. Actually, what do you guys give the apple? That's my, I'll make the apple my Ask the Audience of the day. What do you guys give apple? Not the company, but the card. Seasoned Buttoneer is up next. This is an uncard. It's an uncard, so we don't have to do it. You almost got me. You almost got me with the black border. You almost had me there. Mind Rot Classic. Mind Rot is up next. Printed originally in Portal, if you can believe it. This is 3 mana, 2 and a black for a sorcery. Your opponent chooses and discards 2 cards from his or her hand. Always good in sealed. Mind Rot effects are typically quite good in sealed, where the format tends to be very slow. This is effective card advantage in sealed. You might make them discard a land drop. You might make them discard their bomb at this point in the game. So Mind Rot is okay in that one format and not a whole lot of other formats. They have printed Mind Rot with upside effects that have seen play and continue to see play even outside of standard, like a Go Blank. Go Blank sees play in Commander because it's a really good Mind Rot effect, but you have to be very good to see play as a Mind Rot effect. That said, kind of an iconic card in Magic history, and one of the few that made its way from Portal into like the actual Magic lexicon. You know, got printed in a bunch of core sets and stuff. Just kind of good, man. Kind of okay, but will never quite be there. So I'm gonna give Mind Rot a 3.9. Kind of leave it at that, dude. We all love Mind Rot, though, right? We all love Mind Rot. Next is Blighted Agent. There's a secret layer drop for this card. Oh, it's because it's Phyrexia stuff. It's originally printed in New Phyrexia. 2 mana, 1 and a blue for a 1/1 human rogue with Infect. So if it deals damage to creatures, it deals that damage in the form of -1/-1 counters. It deals damage to players in the form of poison counters. And it is unblockable. Let's go. So this guy has seen some play in his time, and he's still seeing some play. He's still like $1 to purchase. Unblockable poison counter guy. that seems totally safe. You know what I'm saying? Seems fair. And Infect makes it to where if you pump spell this guy, well, then now he can put like 4, 5, 6 poison counters on a dude like really easily on a player. If you do like Become Immense, and it's easy to do Become Immense, and this guy gets through, well, 7. You get 7 poison counters, my guy or girl. So get ready for that. Blighted Agent is only really good in those Infect decks, but he is crazy. This is a feared card back in the day too, and I imagine in some spots it still is. If you're playing Commander, you see a Blighted Agent come down, it's like everybody kill that guy right now. You know what I mean? Just for a 2-mana 1/1, but like he's got to go. You know, so I'm gonna give Agent a 5.3, mostly just for being one of the best Infect creatures ever printed. He might be the best Infect creature ever printed. It's like Glistener Elf is close, and that's just a 1/1 Infect for 1 mana, but he comes down on turn 1, and that sort of tempo is incredible. Blighted Agent, though, you don't have to worry about getting through, and that's really something, dude. It really is. But next card is Tatiova Benthic Druid. This is 5 mana, 3 a green and a blue for a 3/3 legendary Merfolk Druid. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you gain a life, you draw a card. Awesome. Just an awesome little card, man. It can be your commander, or it can be in the 99 of your like Simic Lands Matter deck, and you're happy, you know. Gain a life, draw a card. Landfall trigger, gain a life, draw a card is just absolutely stupid. Even at 5 mana, it's still really, really good. The card is very, very cheap to order, and I honestly feel like if you've never built a Simic Commander deck before, and I'm sort of in that in that group of people, I would say that this is probably one of the cooler like Simic Commanders you can build with for the first time. You can do it on a budget, and it's a really fun effect that once it's on the table, you're going to be really happy that it's there. It may die to a fair number of removal spells and all that, so you know, you got to play like your Snakeskin Veils and your other protection effects, your counter spells that counter removal or whatever. So you do have to protect Tatiova, but once she's out, man, the triggers feel really good. And if you have ways of putting more lands out than one in a turn, then she just becomes absolutely crazy. So if you've never seen anyone experience the pure joy of playing Tatiova, I've seen people play it. I've seen people do stuff with it, but I've never done it myself. Then I suggest you at least seek out that experience, because the smile, the smile that Tatiova will give you when you actually do stuff with it, or at least from what I've seen, is worth experiencing, even, you know, vicariously through someone else, because it's very wholesome kind of fun. But still, Tatiova, I'm going to give a 5.72, which seems really, really high. But this is actually, again, just a very playable Simic Commander that does a lot of really busted things once you actually get a chance to do them, right? So give it a shot, man. She's fun. But final card of the day is Champion of the Flame. This is 2 mana, 1 and a red for a 1/1 human warrior with trample that gets +2/+2 for each aura and equipment attached to it. Now we're talking, baby. This is only 3 cents to buy because it's not like that good, right? But still, I just like dudes like this. Got a built-in trample. If you even have 1 aura that gives him +2/+2, he's a 5/5 trample, you know? Like, you throw an Audacity on him, he's a 5-power trampling guy on like turn 2, right? Or turn 3. And that's pretty sick. On turn 1, ooh, that would be neat. In current day standard, you could like turn 1, plot a Demonic Ruckus, and then turn 2, Champion of the Flame, Demonic Ruckus onto him. And he's what, like a 4/4 trample menace or whatever? Like, it's pretty good. So again, I just love dudes like this. Don't worry, it is the end of my recording session, which means we're going to do an extra card. So if you haven't clicked off yet, good for you, because you get to see the extra card. But I'm actually going to give Champion of the Flame like a 4.5. I'm so serious, dude. I've loved this dude since the first Dominaria, and he didn't do a whole lot in that standard. But I just feel like if you can protect this dude and get like 2 auras on him, like 1 aura and like an ethereal armor, and he's just popping off, dude. He's like a 9/9, you know? Like, I think this guy's actually got a lot of potential, I do. But bonus card of the week, everybody, is Rubble Belt Braggart from Murders at Karlov Mana. This is 5 mana, 4 and a red for a 5/5 Vashino warrior. It's actually a lizard warrior now because they killed Vashinos. Oh no. Whenever it attacks, if it's not suspected, you may suspect it. So it has menace and it can't block if it's suspected. So 5 mana for a 5/5 menace in most of the cases. It's pretty bad. Not a very good bonus card today. I will give it a 2.1, something like that. But that is basically your week, everybody. We got Sunday to cover, and I'll be there doing that tomorrow. I promise at some point it might be a late one. Who knows? But I'll be there, baby. So here's on our March to 100, dude. We're almost there, guys. And honestly, here's to 1,000, to 5,000. We'll get to 10, you know. All of us will be there together when it happens. But anyway, guys, that is it for your Saturday. I hope you enjoyed this crop of cards. Let me know in the comment section how you felt about the stuff. I'll catch you cats later. Bye.